G'day, Hawks fans. Welcome back. Reese, Chris, how you going, fellas?
Great, mate.
Mate, it's been too long. I'm not a fan of this huge gap, but we're here now and we're going to dominate in a big way, so can't wait to get started.
Absolutely. It's good to be back. Trade period, lots going on. We've got the draft that we're all looking forward to. There's a bit of dust that's now settled. We've got an idea of the list, and we're going to dig into that. We made some early crows. We thought we'd have a crack at who we thought the Hawks should target. So we'll go over that tonight, and we'll look at a few different things. We've got our latest recruit in the Fionn O'Hara, and it's good just looking forward. And there's a bit of optimism going on around the club. So anything you boys are you looking forward to with the upcoming season? Tell me, what's your highlights?
Probably just seeing what kids we get. I know it was just we went into this end of season rage, and we all just what picks are we getting? And I'm just it sort of died off a little bit, but now it's getting closer to Christmas, and our presents are nearly arrived.
Yeah, I agree. Before Christmas, it's going to be the draft, and there's a really good argument to state that this is probably maybe the most important draft we've had probably since that 2004 Super Draft that we had since Buddy Ruffy, Jordan Lewis, and others. And no pressure on the guys that are coming in. We're not saying they need to be exactly the same, but with 5, 21, 24, and of course live pick trading, we don't know what's going to go on there. It's really exciting. And then I'm sure once we hit 2022, as soon as January comes, it'll all be about round one. And who knows, mate, fingers crossed we could play Buddy. He could kick his 1,000th and we'd still win. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Spoil the party for the big Budweiser.
It's hard to not look at the past and reference it and have an expectation, but absolutely let these boys that are coming through do their own, make it their own. Sam Mitchell and the new. I'm loving the new the team, the ensemble that Sammy's pulled together. I was speaking. I've touched on it recently, but I was speaking to Darren Glass recently, the West Coast Premiership captain, and he was an assistant coach under Clarke for a couple of years. Did cross paths with Sammy over in West Coast, and Hickmont over there. Just asked Glassy. I was like, "What's the go? And what do you make of him?" And he said he just thinks differently. Compared to all of the other coaches, he would just come with this left field, ideas, and I love that. We've got Harvey in there. We've just got such diversity. Hale back, welcome. It's that combo. It really excites me.
Yeah, you can't convince a lot of people otherwise, I think. But having yes men doesn't work. Look at what Carlton went through with David Teague, where I think Sammy would thrive on people going, I'm not sure if this is right. I'm not sure if this is right. And then to come together and come up with a good game plan. And we might struggle in that first part of 2022, and that's fine. That's okay. We can live with that. But I've got a feeling that once the Hawks hit the bye a bit like this year, I don't think anyone will want to play us. And if finals is too far out of our grasp, I'm more than happy with ending a few team seasons like we did last year. So bring it on, I reckon. And I think these off-field acquisitions have been the most underrated part of anyone's off-season so far. No one's really talking about it. Everyone's ready to chip us and tell us that we're no good, which is fine. We've been proving people wrong since 1961. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we've got a really good group in place. Get the kids in, and away we go. I think there's nothing but optimism around the Hawks. And it's fair to say that even when we were making finals in 2016, 2018, there might have been as much optimism in the room. So onwards and upwards, I reckon.
100%. Well said. And 100 miles an hour race.
Mate, I'm pumped. I'm just glad to be back.
Oh, no, look, the Hawks, we were talking about this before the show. Hawks makes us feel good. We're optimistic about what's to come. So if you're joining us for the first time, Talking Hawks is all about connecting Hawks fans from around the world, having some intelligent footy conversation, a few laughs. So chime in with your questions. We'll get to as many as we can. But we want to talk about, Reese and I had the early crow before the trade period. There's certain sections of the trade period. We're talking about players that can be drafted, traded, and we looked at who we might go for. I'm going to run through the list because we talked about we would do the walk of shame or we'd have a head wobble. And
none of these weren't as serious as the others. I just want to put that out there before we reveal the list.
So mids, Eli Smith, Brody Kemp, Charlie Constable, Caniglio, none of those, fine. Forwards, we looked at Jared Brander. He's gone to GWS, Mitch Wallace, Alex Sexton, Defenders, we threw out Fisher McCasey. Is that how you pronounce it?
Mackesy, yep.
Mackesy, sorry. Matty Ling and Darcy Moore as a bit of a tongue-in-cheek. And the rucks, Jordan Sweet, Max Lynch, Brodie Grundy. So, look, we've had a
You might have just gone the early crow on Darcy Moore. Maybe next year after Jordan De Goey's busted their salary cap.
Absolutely, and I'm convinced Eli and Fisher Mackesy won't be at their clubs next year either. So, look, if I'm happy to do the Walk of Shame tonight, if it's a year-long Walk of Fame next year, bring it on.
Yeah, so maybe the early crow race. Well done. Look, Jared Brander, let's start there. Chris, thoughts?
Was that Brander, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously warranted a bit of attention. He was thrown around with a few clubs, and look, he's going to be a good fit for GWS. Like I said, we will be keen, but obviously not keen enough, or didn't have the right spot on the field for him to fill. So disappointed that we let him slide a fraction, but obviously Sam's happy with the list he's got. So
yeah, I was watching that one closely. Yeah, sorry, I was watching that one closely, thinking about how good is Gunston's back, and the fact that we didn't go harder and perhaps entice him. Maybe that was the conversation. I don't know, but it gives me confidence that Gunston is going to be up and about and healthy.
Yeah, and the thing is, our analysis, and yeah, well, I'm going to gloat a little on behalf of all of us here because we deserve it, especially after I threw out Alex Sexton as an option. So this is going to be my right of reply here. Is our analysis was spot on?
Hold on. In our defence, we did have a little bit of fun with our.
Yeah.
We threw out a bit of a crazy.
Yeah, we definitely did. But GWS got him for the same reason we wanted to get him if Gunston went, a high half forward who can kick well, kick inside 50 and kick goals. And GWS got him because they got rid of Jeremy Finlayson. So it made, I think our analysis was spot on, and he just went to a club to play that same role. And look, if anyone says they'll take Brander over Gunston, I mean, you're insane. So Gunners is sticking around. We'll get his back right, and I'm sure he'll be back to his best next year. So good luck to Jared Brander. But I still reckon we get a tick for that one, boys, even if he did go to another club, but the reasoning was spot on.
Yep.
I do reckon I mentioned Jeremy Finlayson in our little chat at some stage. He would have been a nice addition to our forward line, I reckon.
What a weird acquisition that was for Port, but we're not going to talk about them.
You look at the age demographic, but we're stacked in defence. There was obviously probably no one we're really going to target there, in all honesty. Rucks, we're like, yes, there's a need there. Mids, it's do we go for someone existing or do we look to the draft? So I'm really happy that we're looking to the draft. Although there has been the Charlie Constable overlook. Thoughts?
You go first, Chris.
Yeah, a little bit strange. I thought there would have been a little bit of attention around him and his upside, but maybe he wasn't getting a game at Geelong because he wasn't as good as we think on the outside. I'm not sure, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if someone does give him a lifeline at some stage.
I would love to know how many delisted free agents that are picked up are midfielders. Now, I noted that the delisted free agency so far, Brander's not a midfielder. Tom Campbell's gone to St Kilda, obviously not a midfielder, being that tall. But I'm not sure if midfielders get a run because if you're not, A grade 5 years into your development, you're probably shown the door. And we saw that with James Cousins as well. So I think the likelihood of being a midfielder picked up is probably a bit low in the investment in an 18-year-old that will probably bring in 2 out of our 3 picks, but we'll get into the draft in a later show. So Constable's probably unlucky. Sometimes you just get drafted to the wrong club, and I feel like that's where he's at. And if he doesn't get onto a list, he might spend 2022 auditioning because he'll still be young enough. So we'll see. But I'm with you boys. I like him as a player, but not too disappointed that we're going to go 18-year-old instead of what I think he is, which is 22, 23.
And our midfield's lacking speed, and that's been one criticism of Constable, that he's just not quite got the pace. So, look, I've really liked some of the things I've seen of him highlights-wise and whatnot as well, and seemed like he was held back as far as opportunities. So, look, if the club talks to him and he's got the right attitude and he's looking at, he's staring down the barrel of, this is the end of my AFL career, and they're hearing the right things, if the club choose Constable, I'm really comfortable that they go for him.
Yeah.
Although we've got, a Nash on the rise who's probably similar dimensions in terms of height, length, but got speed, and maybe a little bit of learning is catching up. And we've got O'Hara. So look, we'll get onto that shortly. But here we go, Reece. For you,
yes, I was going to ask you to do that. I don't have controls. I don't know why I don't have controls, but yes, I wanted that one up. Thanks, Justin. Love it.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I'm at a loss now. Did sign the 1 year deal at the Cats, and it has to be attitude, surely, because you can't. Or I'm just watching the wrong game. Both are equally possible. I'll happily admit that, but for speed and for X factor, it's a struggle to see why he wouldn't be in there. And look, 1 year deal at Geelong, he's probably fighting for his career. If we haven't gone for him the last 2 years, highly unlikely we'll go for him at the end of next year, but he'd be good in a few midfields, I reckon. But the same thing with Constable. I'm more than comfortable with Sammy backing the midfield group that we've got, and Sparkle Narkle will probably have 35 against us, kick 3, and we'll look like Dills for one game, but we'll see.
All right, on to Maxi Lynch. So that's the ultimate head wobble. We got that one right. We've called that. We've got the sparring partner for Reeves for the years to come. I'm super excited about Maxi Lynch. What are your thoughts, lads?
Yeah. Like I said, we wanted someone in that age bracket, and he fit the bill perfectly. As we mentioned, he dominated, had a pretty solid game against Max Gawn, and that's enough for me to roll the dice and see what he can bring for us long term.
Yeah, conversely, I was impressed in the same way, but probably impressed about the way he went about Luke Jackson. So you're looking at a guy who's young. Jackson's obviously younger. Don't get me wrong, but he was pick 3 in the draft. He's been lauded for his role in a premiership side. And again, sometimes you get drafted to the wrong side. Max Lynch got drafted to a team that had Brodie Grundy behind him. So there's probably not that level of competition there with Big Boy getting on a touch. And with all the respect in the world, I love Big Boy as a player. And Ned Reeves is an established best 22 player, and there's no reason why Max Lynch can't play round 1, in my opinion.
With Robert Harvey as well, being at Collingwood, would know him pretty well. So I think he's just going to fit in very comfortably. Yeah. And like we said, David Hale on board now, a little bit of extra encouragement in the ruck department along with Monka. So
absolutely.
Our rucks department's looking solid for the next 10 years, I think.
Yeah, look, I'm really comfy with Max Lynch. I think it was just a really wise decision. Segler probably wasn't going to have a lot of currency at the end of next year when he was out of contract. So I'm glad that the Hawks made a tough call there. Thank you, Segs. And, let's move forward with if you check him out on Insta, _maximum lunch _. Max Lynch is a bit of a crazy dude. So he doesn't mind the camera. Check him out.
I'm here. We're here for that. That's brilliant.
I think he'll be entertaining, to say the least. But no, I think he's really going to bring it on the paddock as well. So I love that we've got another young fella who has gone up against Grundy, one of the best rucks in the league, for a number of years now, and he would have learnt a lot. And probably being held back will push Reeves now. So it's, in all honesty, we weren't going to get that from Big Boy. He's in the finer, at the latter end of the career. So I love this move, and he's hungry. So Lynch, let's see what you got, big fella, and really pumped to see that connection and what can happen in our midfield. So that's the head wobble. We called Maxi Lynch, and there it is. Sean Verso, he's got Gibbons as a question mark.
Yeah, I liked him in patches. I don't know why Carlton have let him go, but whether he'd fit in our forward line, I'm not so sure. But I'm on the fence.
I mean, Carlton
for us.
Yeah, and you look at Carlton drafted him. If we take what he said on radio as the truth, it would be pretty silly for him to lie and say that Carlton, when they interviewed him, said we're going to draft you as a midfielder and play him in a forward pocket. We've seen clubs get burned by that before. Good and bad. You look at Essendon with Darcy Parish, played a number 5 draft pick on our forward flank for what seemed like forever before he's exploded into a gun. So hasn't been a lot of interest in Gibbo, and I think he's a hard luck story. But I'm not sure if he'd be the right fit for us. I think we need speed. And although his pressure's really good in the forward line, I'd probably prioritise speed, and I think we'd find that in the draft better than we'd find that in Gibbo. But one of the genuine good blokes too. I've had the good fortune of meeting him a couple of times, so I wish him all the best.
Yep. Brilliant. All right, well, on to speed. So interesting stat that came out. Sorry, move all the fat heads there. Fastest players at the Hawks. So we've got the big Kosi. Sadly, he's not one of the fastest in the league, or we don't have one of the fastest. I love that Frost is up there and more, no doubt. We've seen it, excitement machine in CJ. Jen, that came out this week from the AFL. Let's contrast it with this. Sorry, Chris.
I was just going to say on the back of that first stat that I think the highest was 35 k's an hour, and most clubs had players at 34. So for us to be peaking at 33 and it be Kosi, we are lacking speed.
I think that stat did come from players that had played 12 games or more, which is why maybe Jarman Impey wasn't up there as well. So that could be a little something there. But, I mean, it sounds like we're knocking Kosi. I think it's brilliant that he's one of the quickest, and a guy that mobile is only going to get better and better. So let's turn this into a positive, I reckon. I think Kosi's the tall forward we'll look at for the future, and it's now up to Mitch Lewis, Jackson Callow, and Emerson Jaeger who's going to join him, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. You want to throw the other one back up? The distance travelled?
Yeah, give me a sec.
How good's that? Lachlan Bramble at the top.
Bang. That's the ultimate, like, see you later.
That's average.
The AFL team. That was the ultimate, like, just shafting of all AFL teams. We're just going to slide Bramble in.
Yeah, we're just going to pick up this bloke from Sunbury and, he's just going to burn all you blokes that are getting tired in the back end of the year. Beautiful.
Yeah. So good on your flipper there. Jaeger, good. Just some war horses there.
Solid by Jaeger. That surprised me a little bit.
Hey, who would have thought when I called Dylan Moore a high half forward that gets around the ground? I'd like to say that as vindication, please. Just a little bit. If we're going to knock me for the narcle take, I'll take one back for me good self there, and we'll call it even, I reckon.
and sadly, how gone there. But look, it had a cracking season by on my account. But we also threw up during the week a top 10 most important players in 2022. So that was very interesting in that people looked at different aspects of what's important. And, for mine, I had Bramble in my top 10 most important because what he's given us on the paddock right now, just in lieu of those stats. So, look, if you haven't seen it, just jump on Twitter and Facebook to comment, add your thoughts. Everyone has a different view. There was some that were saying, we need the youth. This is a stupid list. What are you talking about? Absolutely, we need to rejuvenate. But for mine, it's the balance of we need some senior heads to bring in and speed up the development of that youth as well. So for mine, I actually see, and our Talking Hawks team, we all had different views on who's the most important. And so there was only actually 4 players that we all agreed on in that top 10. So and it's a much bigger team than you're seeing here tonight. So interesting stats. So
I wonder if we did a top 10 most important over the next 3 years, I feel like we'd get similar results, because I think all fans would agree that sort of no one over the age of 26 now, so going 29 and 30s in 3 years would be on that list, and that's when we would pack it with the youth. So that might be an interesting exercise down the road. But for 2022, look, we're all going to disagree. That's fine, and I'm grateful for the fans that chimed in, going, I'd have this bloke in and this bloke out, and as long as we keep it a civil and intelligent conversation, more than happy to hear from anyone and everyone. No one's right, no one's wrong, and what we've got in common is we bloody love this football club and want them to succeed ASAP. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's a good
look,
thing.
and I think to that point, we did have probably Day, Kosi, and Hardwick that would be your younger ones that were in that list that we put forward. So as looking at that 3-year window. But regardless, look, what does that say about our upcoming draft? Now, we've got a big show coming up Monday night where we're looking at who the Hawks should take with their top 3 picks. We have assembled a panel across the Hawthorn fan, let's call it geek/guru on the draft. So we've got yours truly, Reese. We've got Danny Prinz joining us and Luke Smith as well. So those 3 names, if you are on any Facebook or Twitter media or Hawks groups, you will probably have seen those names at some point. So very excited. We've got a whole lot of highlights, and let me just point to Chris and Reese did do a great show. First up, it was about a month or so back, looking at who the Hawks should take in this draft. Now, things maybe have shifted a little, but There's highlights in that clip, so we'll include it in the description here. But that was Finn Callaghan, Josh Sinn, Josh Gibcus, Matty Roberts, Josh Goda, Judson Clarke, Matthew Johnson, Hugh Jackson, and Neil Erasmus. So check that one out. We'll include the link. But yeah, here and now, what we're doing post trade period, who do the Hawks really, really need? And speed's a big one. So I think clearly, boys, and fans, let us know your thoughts. The top, are we talking 2, 3 picks? Are we going hard at speed and midfielders? What's the thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think that midfield is going to be a big part of what we need going forward. Like we said, we all agree our back line's pretty solid at the moment. So between the forward line, but we've got those big young forwards there. 1 or 2 of them should develop, but and we can always recruit one down the track too, easy enough. So I think it makes more sense to get these gun kids who have proven themselves at their level. And actually, we had that what year was that draft? During the week, they rated the top 10 from that particular draft, and they restacked the
Cornelio's draft. So 2011, I reckon, a decade ago.
So the reconfigured draft, besides Lachie Neale being on top, out of the top 10, they were all picked in the top 30. So we've got 3 picks in the top 30. So if we can nail at least 2 of them, say, we should have potentially 2 of the top 10 of this draft, hopefully.
Yeah, love it. And we're probably not going to take that pick in the 80s. So if we take 4 selections in, it's going to be 2 midfielders and 2 forwards.
Yeah. So, look, we'll be going over all of these scenarios, Sean. Thank you, my guy. Respect. So it will be exciting to see what we do. And, look, there might be a surprise. We might get one of these, Mac Andrew. You just might take a rabbit, pull a rabbit.
Pretty exciting to take. If we did roll the dice on Mac Andrew, he's got a lot of potential. So, yeah, I'll be happy to get him in.
Yeah, brilliant. So, back to the speed conversation. Have either of you boys had much of a look at Fionn O'Hara?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Watched a few highlight reels there, and you can definitely see, obviously, plenty of guys like Pendlebury and Roughhead coming from basketball backgrounds, and you got your Connor Nash that has come from the Gaelic and rugby background as well. But he's on next level, I think, for me. Just seeing his awareness, the way he can quickly pivot and move, I think he's going to adapt so quickly, and I honestly think he's going to debut this year.
Oh, bang, there's a hot take.
I can see... if we're pushing finals and, Sammy may or may not, depending on how he's going at Box Hill, but I can definitely see him picking up the game that quickly, and just his awareness and skill level, I think he's going to just zoom to the top. He's going to play AFL very quickly, I think.
All right. So where are you starting him, and when is he breaking into the senior list, Chris? What round?
Probably depends on our potential injuries at the time. He says he can rack up the Ks, so he could potentially come in on a wing. Can tackle, defensive pressure, but he's a good passer for Gaelic as well. So that makes more sense coming in off a wing and delivering the ball into the forward line. So, but in that sense, whether Sammy, it depends where he plays him at Box Hill, I guess. And where his assets.
Clint Proctor may have had it laid out in front of him. Sammy's just reinvented Connor Nash, who we thought was probably, most Hawks fans thought was probably going to be shown the door. Does Clint Proctor say, there's the recipe, here it is? And mind you, Nashi and O'Hara are training over there at the moment together.
Yeah. And what really... I think what Hawthorn fans should get excited about, and you look at the profiles of Irish guys that come out, and they all seemingly read the same on the surface, quick, good skills, and we've had Irish guys come in that are the same. But I looked at Sydney's profile for Ty Kennelly, the 2005 Premiership player, and him and O'Hara's profile read eerily similar, given the fact that before they even talked about their skills, they talked about their IQ for sport. the fact that they could pick up on things very quickly, even if it was foreign to their normal skills. So if that tells me if he's coachable, first of all, then the rest will come, especially if he's got those things that we might love to see from an Irish kid, such as that quickness and that composure and that sidestep, which is just at Hawthorn is a thing to behold. But if he's got, sporting IQ, and Sam Mitchell, like you said, can mould players into what he needs of them, I cannot see how this is going to be a down option at all. It's very low risk, and if he's sporting IQ is as good as what we think it is, it's only going to be high reward. So not 100% sure if he debuts this year, but I tell you what, if he does, Chris, that is the king of early crows right there, and you'll get all the plaudits absolutely. But there's nothing negative that can be said about it, and I hope we see him soon at Box Hill or senior level.
I'll accept it now, thank you.
Doesn't really go down.
I am convinced.
I love it. Once if our backline's decimated, and we need if it's down to Fionn O'Hara or you, Chris, for down back, mate, they might go with our Irishman, I reckon.
I know, honestly, I think with the way we heard Nashi speak, in a sort of behind the scenes session with some of the play sponsor group, he said that Sam was just telling him to play to his strengths, and if that to me, and Reeves said the same. That's the way Sam was coaching. Just like play like this. This is your strength. You've got speed, break away. So I think we're going to get the same sort of influence from the coaching group if that's the way Sam has got the best out of Nash. So yeah, I'm excited by O'Hara.
And it's a pet peeve as well when you hear, especially with leading into the draft as well, that all these recruiters and all these people, especially when guys get traded or whatever the case is with O'Hara here, is they expect them to be everything, a jack of all trades. But if you're good enough at one position, then you can play that position for 250, 300 games, however many it is. So I'm really getting sick and tired of the whole, he's a midfielder who can go forward or a forward that can go through the midfielder. Well, where does he play? If that's his best spot, go for it.
Yeah. Here we go. Mike Guy's claiming it too. But Chris, seeing as you've gone the early crow, it's over to you to answer Sean here.
Yes, good question, Sean. I believe it's Fionn.
Oh, bang. I think he's got it.
Yes, I did question it myself, and in the footage that I've watched in the interviews, I believe that.
We would have rescinded your fan club badge if you had got that wrong, Chris. That wouldn't have been good enough. He's done well there, man.
Number one fan already.
Yeah, that's it. Love it.
Mate, he's a good-looking rooster too. Anyway, he'll have some fun in Australia, I'm sure. So, shall we look? One question here from Sean before we move on. Mark Andrews.
Probably not in that ruck role. If they played him as maybe a mid-forward to introduce him to AFL level, but I can't probably see him playing a senior game in his first year. I don't think he's more of a long-term project.
He could play senior games at the Giants, I reckon, but not at the Hawks this year.
Yep.
There you have it. All right, so on to lads, fans. Mm-hmm. Do you think, I know we're imagining a little bit here, but post the draft, do you think we should target any delisted free agents that are still available?
None are coming to my mind, but I'm not all over it at the moment. Reese is probably the one with the answer to that question.
I feel like we would have already. I know that we've got to wait and see how the draft turns out. And with live pick trading, that's sort of the thing that's a big obstacle for big clubs, especially with midfielders that we've already spoken about. So I know, like you said, we're imagining a little bit, but if there was anyone that the Hawks desperately wanted, I feel like we'd have them through the door right now. So I'm not holding my breath as of yet, but look, who knows? Now that I've said that, we'll probably sign someone tomorrow.
They've probably got to fit that age demographic, don't they? And there's probably not too many out there. We've probably rolled through them, the Constables and who else was it? But yeah,
Gibbons and
Gibbons. Yeah. So yeah, like you said, I agree. If we were keen, we probably would have got them already.
Yep. Well said. We'll keep it tight tonight. Thanks for joining us. Base Compression, sponsors of Talking Hawks. If you're keen, it's 20% discount. Base Compression have amazing gear for men, women, children. Get on it if you're a sporting person or you enjoy your streetwear. There's a code that we'll put in the description after the show. And Monday night, join us, 8 p.m. This will be the big Hawthorn draft preview for who the Hawks should take few ripper questions will be put to our panel around these draft gurus / geeks, and we will have a bit of fun. So bring your best questions. We'll look at all sorts of pick trade scenarios, all sorts of things. So join us on Monday night, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern. And Reece, Chris, fans, thanks for joining us tonight. We will leave it there.
Mate, no, absolutely. Pleasure. Fingers crossed the fans are going well, especially those in Victoria, especially down here in my peninsula way with the weather. We had the power for a while with the tree going down. So if anyone's still in an unfortunate situation, fingers crossed you're back bigger and better than ever. And yeah, like Matt said, join us on Monday night, because if you've got any draft questions at all, I mean, fire it at us. It's going to be the biggest and the best. Can't wait for it, mate. The weekend can't come quick enough.
And Reece, you've got a new YouTube channel that you're covering upcoming top 30 draft, going head to head with Cal Toomey. I'm calling it, even though you haven't called that, but I'm calling it that. Tell the fans where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's not just going to be draft. It's going to be footy things going forward. But shout out to fellow Talking Hawks alumni Jake Smith for getting me to adopt the high school nickname of Daz. And that's a story I might cover in an actual YouTube video. I won't go into it now, but just Daz Talks Footy is the YouTube channel name. So at the moment, I'm running a series on every grand final since 2000 ranked just before we get into the draft. And the draft content did get pushed back a little because we haven't had power in the house for the last week. But my top 30 mock draft, the whole draft, not just for Hawthorn, of course, will be out Saturday night or Sunday. So jump on, subscribe, and go from there and get around it, boys. Because as much as we love talking about the Hawks, I think it's a good way to get around other clubs as well. And I've already managed to really annoy the Carlton fan base with one of my videos there. So I'm sure I'll get to some other fan bases ASAP. So get around it, I reckon.
Love your work, mate.
Mate. All right, get around, Reece. If you've enjoyed the content tonight, please like and subscribe to Talking Hawks, and we will catch you all soon.
There you go. Go Hawks.